You spend lakhs on beautiful interiors, but when the sun goes down, the living room feels cold, sterile, and slightly uncomfortable. That happens because the default lighting strategy in most Indian homes relies entirely on flooding the whole false ceiling with panel lights or slapping a high-wattage tube light on the wall. Notice what happens here. Flooding a room from a single, intense source creates harsh shadows, flattens furniture textures, and kills any sense of coziness. You go to a lighting shop, and the shopkeeper hands you a stack of standard cold white panel lights for every single room, without asking how you actually plan to use those spaces. Effective lighting relies on intentional placement and activity matching rather than maximum brightness. A professional lighting design uses 3 distinct layers. First, a soft ambient base glow. Next, a targeted task beam over a desk. Finally, an accent spotlight on a wall frame. Relying only on that flat base glow causes visual discomfort and eye strain. The trade-off is you cannot simply run a single wire to the center of the ceiling. This layered approach requires upfront planning and separate electrical points before the plaster goes up. Mastering these 3 layers and their color temperatures is the strategy you need to finalize before a single wire is closed in your house. Let's start with the base. The ambient layer's only job is to provide just enough general illumination so you can walk around the room safely without bumping into furniture. A single tube light fails at this because it throws all its output against one wall. The light spreads unevenly, leaving you with bright glare in one spot and dark shadows in the corners. To fix that shadow problem, people often make the opposite mistake. They install a massive grid of ceiling lights, dropping a point every 2 feet. That ceiling grid turns your home into a showroom. It creates a uniform, overwhelming glare that wastes electricity and makes it physically difficult to relax on your sofa. Instead, limit to subtle cove lights, recessed profile lights, or minimalist COBs, and place them strictly in the paths where you actually walk. A successful ambient layer should be minimal and almost invisible. It acts as a quiet background canvas, doing nothing more than setting the stage for the next 2 layers. The task layer is where your lighting actually goes to work. This is dedicated, focused illumination placed exactly over the surfaces where you need to see clearly, like kitchen counters, study tables, or a reading chair. Look at this diagram of a person standing at a counter. When you rely solely on overhead ambient lights, your body blocks the ceiling light, casting a solid, dark shadow right over your hands. Working in that shadow forces your eyes to strain and increases accident risk. The fix is a targeted downlight right above the surface. Getting this right means you have to plan the wiring drops behind your cabinets before the carpenter finishes the woodwork. That upfront electrical planning is a small price to pay. The task layer trades a bit of early coordination for daily gains in everyday functionality and physical safety. The final layer is accent lighting. This is feature illumination, designed specifically to highlight architectural details, artwork, or a specific piece of furniture. Dropping a pendant light directly over a dining table or right in your entry foyer creates a clear focal point. It immediately tells the eye where to look. These fixtures do double duty. The accent light acts as a visual design feature in the room, while also providing a secondary pool of task lighting for the table surface below it. The strict rule here is alignment. Pendant and accent lights must be perfectly centered over your final furniture layout during the false ceiling stage, otherwise they look like mistakes. While ambient and task lights handle the utility of the house, the accent layer adds the depth and visual hierarchy found in high-end, professionally designed spaces. Even with all 3 layers, you can still ruin a room with the wrong color temperature. This matrix plots temperature vertically against human function horizontally. The cold white zone, 6,000 Kelvin and above, belongs strictly in active workspaces. Cold light triggers the brain for alertness and high productivity, but because it feels clinical and harsh, it is unsuitable for a place of rest. The warm light zone, between 2,700 and 3,000 Kelvin, is mandatory for spaces where you want to unwind. Warm light signals your brain to relax. It creates perfect coziness, though it is poor for reading fine print or dicing onions. Right in the middle is the natural light zone, at about 4,000 Kelvin. This is your safe, neutral ground for transition areas like passages or general dining spaces. Mixing cold and warm lights within the same functional zone confuses your brain and destroys the visual harmony of the room. We can now apply these 3 layers and temperature rules to create an executable checklist for your home. For the kitchen, the formula is natural or cold ambient light for alertness, combined with mandatory under-cabinet task lighting to protect your hands. The bedroom formula requires minimal warm ambient lighting, focused bedside task lamps for reading, and 0 cold white ceiling grids. In the living room, use natural ambient light for general use, layered heavily with warm accent lighting like wall spotlights and pendants to build coziness. Take a screenshot of this master lighting checklist. Bringing these exact requirements to the shopkeeper is the only way to prevent expensive, mismatched purchasing mistakes. If you are actively renovating, your primary objective right now is mapping out those task and accent points with your electrician before the false ceiling is sealed. But if you are on a budget and cannot rewire your home, the fastest upgrade is to simply stop turning on your harsh overhead ceiling lights. Purchasing a basic plug-in floor lamp and a warm table lamp instantly mimics layered task and accent lighting without requiring any electrical work. A well-planned room, layered with affordable fixtures at the proper temperature, will always outshine a flat, overlit room filled with expensive panels.